Hey friendos, Ash here. Welcome back to Extra Gents. How are you doing? I got in this new fragrance the other day and I've been giving it some wears and I figured let's go ahead and do a video on it. It's from Rochas, Paris. It's Rochas Man Intense. So we got the intense one over here, a regular one over here. Look at those beautiful bottles. Just absolutely fantastic. Love it. So the Rochas Man bottles have long been the subject of jokes in the fragrance community. I don't know why. I looks normal to me. But yeah, people have been poking fun at this since the beginning of time. I didn't even know this thing was coming out. It's basically one of those deals where I was looking on a website and I saw it and I was like, wait, what? And I'll link this in the description in case you want to check it out. I had to order it from Europe. Don't think it's in the US yet. I'm sure it will be before too long, but as of right now, when I'm filming the video, it isn't. In today's video, as always, we'll take a look at the presentation, break it down for you, and I'll let you know how it compares to the original Rochas Man. So let's jump into it. So as I said, this is technically a re-release of sorts because there was already a Rochas Man Intense back in the early 2000s. It didn't last too terribly long, was discontinued, but now it is back in a new 2023 iteration, I guess we'll call it. Rochas Man Intense 2023. Let's get things kicked off by checking out the presentation. So here we have the front of the box, pretty simple. It's got that purple coloration to it that the fragrance is known for. Got the name of the house, name of the fragrance, size and concentration on the front there. It's an eau de parfum. Up top, you have the Rochas logo, and the same thing on the back that's on the front of the box. On the bottom, you have your ingredients, you have your batch code, and your barcode. The batch code in its entirety is 24M50M329. And here we have the bottle. It is the exact same style as the original Rochas Man. The only difference that you're going to find when you look at the bottle from the front is the coloration. Obviously, it has a deeper color to it, whereas the original Rochas Man is kind of a clear or very faintly purple color to it. Then on the bottom / the cap of the bottle, you have a sticker with your batch code. And I've seen some people in the past like store their bottle by doing this. It really doesn't work that well. It's not really safe. I wouldn't do that, but I have seen some people who don't like it sitting like this kind of flip it and like shove it down into the cap and try to keep it in their collection like this. But again, I wouldn't do it. Let's go ahead and share a couple sprays so you can see how the atomizer works. It's all right. It's not bad. So the original Rochas Man, this one's still easily found. You can pick this up at just about any discounter, very cheap. Typically, I think it's under 30 bucks. And it's well known for being a good cheapie. It's a fragrance that most people key in on for having a good cappuccino note. So it's got this sweet kind of coffee vibe to it. And it really is quite sweet, this one. It's also got raspberry, some other things going on. And it's got kind of a synthetic sweetness when you first spray it on. Still yet though, for the price, it's a good scent. One of the bad things about it, one of the detracting points from the original is going to be the performance. Performance is not great. It doesn't project heavily. It doesn't last a really long time. Of course, most people look past that because it is inexpensive. But yeah, that's kind of a quick rundown on the original. Let's go ahead and jump into the differences between these and which one I prefer. These do have similarities to them. So when you spray the Intense on, you can tell, okay, yes, it does fit in with the original, but there are marked differences that you can pick up basically as soon as you spray these on. So between the two, this one over here, the original, is much sweeter. As I alluded to before, has more of a synthetic feel off the top than the new Intense version does. You don't really pick up the cappuccino in the opening of the original all that much. It's concentrated more on a very sweet, fresh lavender, that raspberry. But with the Intense version, you do pick up that cappuccino, that coffee when you first spray it on. And that's going to be one of the bigger differences between these two. This one, the Intense, while yes, it does have a cappuccino note, it comes across as more of a coffee note. Instead of like a sweet take on coffee, it still has sweetness, but that coffee shines through more. where you can more easily pick it out and go, oh yeah, okay, coffee beans. Whereas I feel like with this one, the original, especially off the top, if you had somebody smell it, coffee is not one of the things they would key in on for a while. The lavender, not as pronounced, the fruits, not as pronounced in the intense version. And for what it's worth, the intense version does kind of simplify things. I know that the note breakdown is simplified, but the fragrance itself does also come across more simplified. And I think it's for the better. It's more focused, more honed in on what it's trying to do. So whereas with the original Rochas Man, as that dries down, you get these floral notes, white florals that kind of come out. You get that cappuccino eventually making itself known with, again, the sweetness from the top lingering into the mid and eventually the dry down. You don't get as much woodiness in here. You've got some more things going on. It does come across, in my opinion, the cheaper smelling of the two. And again, not to bust on this fragrance, I think it's really good for the price point, but when you compare them side by side, I do think that the original comes across smelling a little bit cheaper as far as what's on the inside of the bottle. But this is all just to say you have a lot going on there. With Intense, you basically get this coffee note off the top, a sweet coffee, a little bit mellow, not really roasted. I would say it doesn't have that kind of like burnt characteristic to it, no smokiness or anything like that. You get this woodiness that comes out early on, and that woodiness is much more apparent early in the Intense as compared to the original. And then you get this vanilla that comes out, kind of a powdery vanilla in the Intense, and that kind of softens the edges even more as the fragrance dries down. So ultimately with the Intense, you're getting a fragrance that's focused on coffee with less sweetness, more woodiness that comes in early, and a powdery vanilla. You're not going to be getting any of those hyper sweet notes, the higher tinged sweet notes like you get from the original. The raspberry, gone. Those white florals, pretty much gone. And while it is simplified and it's just coffee, woods, a little powdery vanilla, it's done in a very appealing way. When I first got in the Intense, I sprayed it on and then sprayed on the original, had my wife check them out. And in the initial opening, she liked the original more. She liked that sweetness, thought it was a little more attention grabbing. As it dried down and headed through the mid, even just 5-6 minutes in, she switched, said that she liked the Intense more. And then the rest of the way, this was her preference. And I gotta say, my preference is the Intense from the opening to the dry down. I prefer having that sweetness ramped down. I prefer having those higher tinged sweet notes brought down also. I like the woodiness being boosted up. I like that coffee being more recognizable, more noticeable. The star of the show, really, is the coffee here. It's not a big blast of roast coffee, like I said. It's pretty mellow, but I just think it's better, more well done. Some people might still lean toward this one because it does have a little more going on, but I just, again, find this more wearable in today's day and age. And as far as performance goes, the Intense is better, which you would expect. I mean, it is an Intense and it is an eau de parfum, so you would think it's going to have a little more staying power than the original, and it does. Especially in the air, you can pick it up for quite a while. I would say longevity off my skin, 6 to 7 hours pretty comfortably. And when you compare that to the original, that's a step up. So as far as performance goes, the Intense is better than the OG. Seasonally, I would say fall, winter, early spring, and daytime or nighttime, either one, because it doesn't go too heavy, so it doesn't come across like an evening only type of scent. Instead of it being a very thick and like heavy black vanilla, this is more, as I said before, kind of a powdery, soft vanilla that comes around with the woodiness. So it stays pretty mellow. It projects decently well, as I said, but it's not that kind of like aggressive scent where you would think of it as something to cut through the cold in the middle of the night. It's really split evenly between daytime or nighttime use, I think. So I gotta say, I really do enjoy this stuff, but I would caution you to wait until it's discounters, because Rochas fragrances traditionally in the US are marked off quite a bit. So I'm not trying to take anything away from this. A simple but very well done, kind of gourmandy, sweet but not too sweet coffee scent. Very easily worn, very approachable. But you have to think that when it hits discounters, maybe not like the second it hits discounters, but not long after, it's probably gonna drop to like $30 or something. And at that price, it is an absolute steal. Like, for sure, $30, yes, I say go for it if you like coffee scents. So do keep your eyes open for it. And if you see it for a really good price, and as I said, it sounds interesting to you, I think it's safe to scoop up. All right, that will do it for me. Thank you guys for hanging with me here. Stay safe out there, and I will see you again another day with another video. See you guys later.